Ryan Coogler, director of the Black Panther films and the first Creed, reteams with Michael B. Jordan to bring us what has become now the biggest opening for an original film since before COVID. There's a lot to talk about here. It's Sinners. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Sinners. This is already a huge hit, opening weekend of almost 50 million just in the US, and that is the biggest opening for an original film in over 5 years. And what do we mean by original? Not part of any IP, but also, things like Oppenheimer don't count because they're based on somebody's life. But this is an original concept, an original idea, original characters, all of that. And this has made a huge splash already at the box office. So we'll talk about this here momentarily. And, I do spoiler-free reviews for all new movies, but I will say, look, if you've seen a trailer, if you've seen an ad for this movie, I think you probably know the basics of what it's about. We're going to talk just about the main plot. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are hallmarks of this movie that don't happen for like 45 minutes into the movie. But I would not call that a spoiler because I didn't see any trailers and I even knew a little bit of what was going on here. So anyway, before we launch into that, even let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already for Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. I love it when you guys return and check out my reviews. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell. I try to post just about every day, so always a lot going on here on the channel. And if you could just like this video or comment below or share it on your socials, that of course helps the channel out tremendously. Okay, so look, there is a lot to talk about here. I just saw it yesterday. It's been fresh in my mind since then. This is a movie that I think I'm gonna be sort of ruminating over for a little while. But first, a little bit of the background on the movie, because I mentioned Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther and the first Creed movie, I should say. But he's been with Michael B. Jordan a long time because his first movie actually is called Fruitvale Station, which I highly recommend. Came out a little over 10 years ago, probably, maybe 2012, 2013. And it might have been one of the first times I saw Michael B. Jordan, too. I know he was on Friday Night Lights before that, but I went through that later. But anyway, the two of them teamed up. That is an A movie. Loved it. And then, of course, the first Creed movie, legendary. Black Panther, the highest grossing movie ever by an African-American director. And I think that record still holds almost 10 years now after the fact. And then he directed Wakanda Forever as well. So he's been with Michael B. Jordan for a long time. But he also wrote this movie. He obviously did not. Well, I don't know. Did he have something to do with writing Black Panther? I'm not sure. Obviously he directed it. But let me see here. Okay, he actually, yes, I stand corrected. He has writing credits on all of those movies I've mentioned. And this is his fifth movie. So everything I've mentioned, that's his whole filmography. Sinners, Creed, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and this. And there was a bidding war for this movie, which is incredible. For somebody with, he's got, a nice track record. Fruitvale Station, a nice independent movie, but nobody really saw it, right? So, the first Creed, the two Black Panthers, that's his main resume so far. And to have a bidding war for a director, really, this new still is pretty incredible. Warner Brothers won out for it. And he is now, I think, with this movie in the pantheon of like the Christopher Nolans and the Tarantinos and people that are pushing the envelope on filmmaking and storytelling and original concepts and all of that. And in fact, he thanked Christopher Nolan in the credits of this movie because this was shot on 70 millimeter. It was shot with IMAX cameras. I didn't get to see it in IMAX, unfortunately, but he really worked a little bit with Christopher Nolan to get some advice on how to properly film in these formats and best practices and whatnot. And the result is stunning. So, all right, that's enough of the background of his directing and everything, but just know that his directing is a huge part, and his writing of why this movie is a great success. But let's talk about a little bit with the plot. So it takes place in 1932 in the Mississippi Delta, and you have Michael B. Jordan in dual roles as twin brothers Smoke and Stack. That's their nicknames, of course, but they are twin brothers who have returned to their hometown to stir some things up. They have a past there that unfolds, during the course of the film. We learn a little bit more about that. We're not going to talk about that here. But they decide they want to start a juke joint that night, get everybody, jumping and pumping and get that blues music flowing. However, they encounter some, I'm just going to say it because if you know anything about this movie, you probably know it's a vampire movie. That doesn't happen really till like 45 minutes, an hour into the movie. But they encounter vampires, and then the last half of the movie is about them, trying to fight them off. So, for a horror movie, this is really, really a slow build. We have one scene sort of dropped in the middle of that first act, maybe 25, 30 minutes or more into the movie, where we see the vampire for the first time, and he's gonna meet his first mark, I guess we could say. But then again, for like another half hour, nothing happens with them. We're focusing on the music and the juke joint and the twin brothers and the community and all of that. And then we get the vampire story going on. So that's what I mean when I say, like, I'm not going to do spoilers, but if you know anything about this movie, it's a vampire movie at heart. So you also have Haley Steinfeld here. Love her as always, but boy, I mean, this might be my favorite role of hers. I mean, she's done a lot of great stuff in TV. She's great as Emily Dickinson. That's probably my favorite role of hers, just because it's over 3 seasons. But in terms of her film work, boy, I don't know that she's done better than this. I mean, she's great in True Grit, on obviously, but this is a new high, I think, for her. You have Miles Caton, Jack O'Connell, Wumi Muskow, Jamie Lawson, Omar Miller, and who I think is certainly one of the unsung heroes of the film. And I think I will be saying his name as a possible snub if he does not get an Oscar nomination for this. Delroy Lindo. He should have gotten an Oscar nominated a few years ago for a pretty average Spike Lee movie, The Five Bloods, but he was amazing in it, and he's amazing again here. I love Delroy Lindo, have loved him for a long, long time, and here's another one. I don't know if this is his peak performance, but he is outstanding in this. And hopefully, I know the Oscars are funny about horror movies, but maybe with the substance, getting some accolades last year, they're opening themselves up a little bit, because boy, this movie could be nominated for a lot. So let's talk about some of the other pluses before we even talk about the story itself and everything and how successful that is. The score. I think that probably deserves an Oscar nomination. So this is a score by Ludwig Göransson, and I was shocked to find out that this is just some Swedish white dude, because he really has captured the sound of the blues and that 1930s, sort of Delta sound incredibly. And so I looked a little more into that, because I'm like, how is this possible that this guy was tapped for this movie? He was a classmate of Coogler's at USC, and he's worked on a lot of movies in the last 10 or 15 years. A lot of movies ranging from We're the Millers, in the comedy realm, to more dramas and horror stuff. And he's done a lot of different genres, but he has done the score for every Coogler film. So it makes sense that he would do the score here. But this score, I mean, yes, obviously there's, a rich sort of, black sound to, the Wakanda movies and Fruitvale Station. But like, this is very, very different from any of that as well. And it's masterful score. And then you have some cinematography by Autumn Gerard Arkapaw. Don't know who that is. I didn't really see anything, like a huge filmography from them. They did Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and recently they did The Last Showgirl, which I saw a few months ago. It came out late last year. And there you go. But this is only the second time that they have worked with Coogler. And I think the cinematography for something like this is super important, especially when you're filming with those 70 millimeter cameras and whatnot. All right, so that's sort of the behind the scenes stuff. Let's talk about what's on the screen, other than how great Delroy Lindo is. But look, Michael B. Jordan, I think, could get Oscar nominated for this as well. Look, the year is early, I know, and the Oscars don't love horror movies, I know, but this is so much more than a horror movie. As you would imagine, since we don't even delve into that till like half the movie is over. This is certainly about race relations. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on there, and there's some pretty obvious metaphors where that is concerned. Between, well, what's happening in the world today and whatever. Even though this takes place in the 30s, obviously there's some metaphors with who these vampires really are, etc. We could go down that path, but that could be a video unto itself. But there's that. There's high intense drama. There is a little bit of comedy here, certainly, but there's also a sexually charged nature to this. There is a lot about sexuality here that is explored, certainly in this era and in this community. And I think that is an important aspect of this movie. And the character development here is so great because you're getting little moments of like, okay, this is who this person is, here's this person's background, here's how this person connects with this person. But it's all through, it's not all through the action, but it's more through action than it is through dialogue, which I think is interesting. Because usually you'll get, okay, let's have, a couple soliloquies here about, okay, you did this to me and now I'm going to say this and whatever. Here, the action unfolds to tell the story of the characters. I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that makes sense, and there's great dialogue in this too. It's not to besmirch the dialogue at all, but I think part of the great match between Coogler's writing and directing here is those moments where we learn the background of the character or the background of this town, even through the actions on the screen, as opposed to let's just talk about it. I think that is a brilliant matching, and the music here, other than the score, the music like that we're hearing at the Juke, everybody's dancing. There's a really great montage. It sort of took me a little bit out of the movie, but in sort of a good way. I don't know, but there's sort of a montage. There's a song about kind of, or there's a moment where they're talking about the blues is sort of a window into not only the present but the past and the future. And when the character says that, we sort of see as the audience this little montage of future kind of sounds of hip hop and black culture and all of that. We see like LL Cool J is represented and Run DMC and into, sort of the newer stuff, twerking and all of that. I thought that was really, really well done. I don't know that it fit perfectly in the movie, but I thought it was an interesting sort of play on the music that we were already hearing at the juke joint. Look, I've gone on long enough. Go see Sinners. See it in the theater if you can. If you live near an IMAX, I unfortunately, am a couple hours away from the nearest IMAX that shows current films. So I did not get to see it in the IMAX, but if you get to see it in IMAX or 70 millimeter IMAX, I would recommend that. I saw Oppenheimer that way, and it was really, really cool. It's a great experience. But either way, any way you slice it, try and see this on the big screen because it really just pops off, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It is my favorite movie of the year so far. I leave Sinners with a very, very strong A. You can check it out now, and please, please do. Like I said, see it in theaters. Don't wait till this one's on streaming. I think you'll be rewarded. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I will see you next time.